But I have a strong constitution, for example, which has served me quite well. Though if I hadn't had such a strong one, I might have led a more healthy life, perhaps.
But in the meantime, in the old cliche, you live day to day.
Oh, yeah. Yes, one does. But actually, who doesn't? There is, however, I think something specifically terrifying, which I'm trying to oppose in my writing and my appearances about cancer.
Are you terrified by it?
No. I think it's a superstition, one among many. And I think I know where it comes from, actually, if you'd like me to say. I mean, well, when I was a child, we were all very frightened still by polio. It takes an effort to remember that now, but in many countries people still are. Previous generations would have been smallpox, the heart that never gets the right rhythm, bronchitis, TB, all these things. But none of them have the same, I think, horror as cancer's been allowed to acquire. And I think it's probably because of the idea of there being a live thing inside you, a sort of malignant alien that can't outlive you, but that does, in a sense, have a purpose to its life, which is to kill you and then die. It's like an obscene parody of the idea of being pregnant. In fact, I always feel sorrier for women who have cancer than men. For men, the idea of hosting another life of any kind is sort of hard to think about. But for a woman, it must be a grotesque, nasty version of the idea of being a host to another life. I have a feeling this is why people propitiate it with bogus cures, terrible rumors, scare stories, and so on. And I've set my face to trying to demonstrate that it's a malady like any other, and it will yield to reason and science, and that's what I'm trying to spend my time vindicating.
Reason and science, but
yes.
Yet the word most commonly used about cancer is battling cancer, isn't it?
Yes. And I, again, think that's a version of the pathetic fallacy. It's giving a real existence to something that's, in a sense, inanimate, real sense inanimate. It has a sort of life, but not a real. I rather think it's battling me, I have to say. It's much more what it feels like. I mean, I have to sit passively every few weeks and have a huge dose of kill or cure venom put straight into my veins, and then follow that up with other poisons too. Doesn't feel like fighting at all. Possibly resisting, I suppose, but no. You feel as if you're drowning in passivity and being assaulted by something that has a horrible persistence that's working on you while you're asleep.
Does it make you angry?
No, it makes me sober, objective. I think, well, this is the best known of our disease enemies. I'm one of its many, many, many victims. I'm probably one of the luckier ones in point of being able to have treatment and care. I'd like to prove to other people that it's not the end of everything to be diagnosed with it. In other words, yes, it can be resisted. I think I prefer resistance to battling. I didn't pick this fight, but now I'm in it. I'd like to give it my best shot. And as I say, this means to me is putting myself on the side of those men of medicine and science and reason who are trying to reduce it to something that is understandable, assimilable to reason, and that will be brought under control.
But the likelihood is that it will kill you.
Well, the certainty is that that's what I'll die from. Yeah, some people die with cancer. I might die with it. It will be, unless I have a heart attack, which I could easily have, by the way. I'm much more likely now to have a blood clot than I was before. Or a stroke, perhaps. But I mean, no, it's the proximate cause of my death, and I'm both lucky and unlucky to know it in advance and be able to take its measure.
And there will be people, and they won't say it to your face perhaps, but well, he smoked a lot, he drank a lot.
Yes, well, that's exactly what's demystifying about it. I mean, there are also people who say it's God's curse on me that I should have it near my throat because that was the organ of blasphemy which I used for so many years. And I thought, well, I've used many other organs to blaspheme as well if it comes to that. No, it is banal in that precise way. It's, if you've led a rather bohemian and rackety life as I have, it's precisely the cancer you'd expect to get. That's a bit of a yawn.
You're not an old man, and you're living with the prospect of an abbreviated life.
Yes.
What does that do to the way you think about life?
Well, to borrow slightly from Dr. Johnson, it does concentrate the mind, of course, to realize that your time is even more rationed than you thought it was. And though I can be stoic in point of myself about that, because everyone has to go sometime, and whatever day came that the newspapers came out and I wasn't there to read them, I've always thought that'd be a bad day, at least for me. I now have a more pressing idea of what that might be like. Anyway, that's being stoic for my own sake, but for my family it's not very nice, and I could wish perhaps to have led a more healthy and upright life for their sake. And that's a very melancholy reflection, of course. And then there are things I would like to live to see. I've mentioned some of them in an article I wrote on the subject. I'd like to see the World Trade Center reopened. I'd like to see Osama bin Laden on trial, or dead. There are places I'd like to go, people I'd like to meet, books I'd like to at least reread, if not read for the first time. But in a sense, that would always be true. I'd still, I hope, have these ambitions.